Welcome to Chai and Chat with Mohini. I'm Mohini Singh. On this podcast, we plan to discuss issues that are important to our community, meet people who make a difference. But at all times, we aim to be informative and interesting. Today, over a hot cup of chai, we'll be talking to MLA Gavin Dew. Please do have some chai. The chai comes to us from Samosa Place on Springfield Road in Kelowna. So, Gavin, my first question to you, after you had your sip of chai, a lot of changes have taken place with the BC Conservatives lately, and the search is on for a new leader. Where do you stand? Are you planning to run for leadership? That is the million-dollar question these days.
She starts with the easy questions. Mohini, obviously, we went through a leadership transition last week. John Rustad stepped down. We had a bit of a dramatic couple of days, but ultimately, I think John did the right and honorable thing by stepping down and making it possible for us to move forward. We had come to a point where it looked a lot like David Eby might be taking us into a snap election in the spring. And I think that the changes that we've made probably will make that a lot less likely and will afford us the opportunity to continue the work of building our party into a government in waiting before the next election. So we are going to go through a leadership contest, which I assume will start in January and go for 4 or 6 months. And I do have to make some big decisions about that.
Yeah, you did dodge my question, though. Are you running
I like
for
that you call me
leadership?
out. Yeah, so Mohini, I don't know yet. For me, there's a couple of big aspects to the decision. The first and the most important one is my family. As you know, I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they need a dad who's in their life. And politics takes a really heavy toll on your family. I've run in a leadership contest before. I know how big a burden it is, and I know how big a burden leadership is. You know, when it comes to these kinds of political roles, many want the title, few want the burden. You have to know what you're getting into, and you have to make decisions based on your ability to serve in full. So I've got to have those conversations with my family, and I've also got to see what the rules are, have conversations around what the contest is, and then I'll make the decision about whether I run, whether I support somebody, or how I approach that.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It's a very difficult personal decision, and I think equally it's also a really important decision for the Conservative Party of BC. We have to decide who we are. When you go through a leadership race as a political party, it's not just about choosing an individual leader. It's also about showing the public who you are as a party. I think in our case, I hope that the story we're telling is one of how we're growing up into a full-blown, serious, confident government in waiting that people can have trust in to replace David Eby and to turn around a province that is on a very challenging track on a number of files. So it's not just about the outcome, it's about the process, it's about the story that is told, and it's about the talent that is uncovered, both in terms of people who are already in the caucus and in terms of other individuals who might want to join our caucus. Whether that's as leader or whether they show themselves to be very talented through the process and then are brought into the team.
So, Gavin, we do not want to be a podcast that talks politics all the time, but this we felt was very important to have a public discussion on, and take it forward and hear from you. What we like to do here is take a peek behind the curtain to see the person behind the headlines, tell the story that is behind the headlines. So, who is Gavin Dew?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Mohini, and certainly in the context of politics and the context of my career, look, I'm a nerdy guy. I love business. I love public policy. I love politics. I love people. I love the opportunity to try to solve problems for people and solve problems with people. That's what gets me excited. I used to work in business. I used to do consulting. I used to do a lot of very complex issues management and crisis management. That's what I love about my job now as an elected official. I get to, yesterday I was visiting a UBC lab where I was seeing the incredible work they're doing on bioengineering, and a BCIT aerospace facility and a nuclear fission company. I get to see incredible businesses that I wouldn't get to see, and I get to understand what they're trying to do and both the challenges and the opportunities brought to that by government and government policy. So I get super excited about those big challenges. I get really excited when I get to solve a small problem that makes a huge difference for one of my constituents or for their family. That I find extraordinarily gratifying when myself or my team are able to do that. I love solving problems. My 7-year-old daughter, when she tries to explain what I do as an elected official, she's very proud and she says, my daddy helps people, my daddy solves problems, and my daddy makes better laws. And if that's what I can do when I go to work, I'm pretty darn happy. It's not always like that. Politics is hard, right? There's the politics of politics. There's a lot of very challenging aspects to that behind the scenes, and they take a heavy toll. So, that's a really important balance to try to strike. At the end of the day, I think I'm a balanced person. I'm a very big believer that whether it's in business, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in politics, you have to have a balance. And I think that's what we're trying to get to right now, both as a party and as a province. We have to figure out what that balance is that is going to help get the province back on track, because right now I think it is spinning out of control.
You should be so flattered your daughter describes you that way. My grandson describes me as being the mayor on Paw Patrol, who has a chicken named Chickaletta. He describes me as being Chickaletta's mum.
I think most children and grandchildren learn a lot about politics from Paw Patrol initially, but in time I think they develop more nuanced views. My 5-year-old son just wants to know why I'm not home.
And that's got to be gut-wrenching
It is.
for you when you're, say, in northern BC and your son asks you, Dad, when you're coming home.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people that go into politics, you know this, you go into politics because you want to build a better future for your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, whoever it is. No matter what side of the aisle you sit on, we're all motivated by that similarly. Maybe we have different ways of trying to accomplish it. That's our motivation. But I think the hardest part of politics is it can be so all-consuming. You have to be grounded in an understanding of your personal why that keeps you motivated. Public policy isn't what puts gas in your tank. It's that personal passion about making things better for people. But you have to remember to take care of your own people and your own family.
100%. So, Gavin, you were a BC Liberal and you switched over to being a Conservative. How is the move? How did that work? Do your values align with all your colleagues?
I think that transition from BC Liberal to BC Conservative is a really interesting one, and it's so important that people understand the history of how politics in BC has worked. Not to get too nerdy, but ever since around 1932, the entire political landscape of BC has basically come down to a tug of war between the NDP and not the NDP. The NDP was called the CCF before it was called the NDP. What we call the Free Enterprise Coalition, became formalized. It became the Social Credit Party. It became the BC Liberal Party. And then in many ways, there's been a passing of the torch where the Conservative Party of BC has become the vehicle for what we call the Free Enterprise Coalition. What I have said on a number of occasions is I think that we as the Conservative Party of BC have a right of first refusal on fully occupying that space as the Common Sense Coalition, the Free Enterprise Coalition, the coalition of yes that gets things done and drives the province forward. I think we obviously still have a little bit more work to do in order to fully inhabit that role and to finish that process of maturation into a government in waiting. And I really do think that is the sort of existential conversation that will be played out through the Conservative leadership contest.
Well, you sound very positive. Not everybody believes that the turmoil that the party is going through right now, the transition or the regrowth, whatever you want to call it, is going to survive. What do you say to those who don't believe in your vision?
I have to believe, or I wouldn't be here doing what I am today. I have to believe that better is possible for our party and that better is possible for our province. I have to believe that. That's what convinces me to do this. There are always hard times in politics. There are hard times in business. When you're in startup companies, we talk about the valley of death, right? You have to get through the most challenging moments of building a company in order to get to success. In politics, we have those two, those valleys of death, those tough moments. We had, just last week, we had a very tough couple of days as we navigated through the leadership transition of our party. It was not easy. It was deeply emotional. There were tears, there were hugs, there were tough moments. But ultimately, I think it was very cathartic, and it opened us up to the possibilities of how we move forward. You have to be able to build that personal and individual resilience to get through those tough moments, because in politics, more than almost anywhere, you will have those moments. You will learn of constituents who went through terrible things. You will see policy failures. You will be called bad names. You will fail. You will screw up, and you will have to learn to dust yourself off
And
and continue.
you'll have days when your colleagues will not support you, and you'll have times where you question your own judgment.
100%.
Yeah. You know, your wife was on the Vancouver Parks Board. She gets politics. She gets your career. She gets the fact, your passion. But then living it is a whole different can of worms.
Too
How do
true.
you juggle it? How
Yeah.
does she juggle it? How do you juggle? This is. I'm sorry to get so personal, but you have little children, as you alluded to earlier. How do you juggle your traveling demands, your children, your rebranding, your inner struggle to determine whether you should run for leadership? All this must create chaos in your life.
It does. I mean, I'm blessed to have an amazing partner. Erin's really accomplished in her own right, both as a business person and also as a public servant. We met on the campaign trail when she was running to be a park board commissioner when we lived in Vancouver. She got elected to that. I supported her when she ran for city council. And, if I think I've got it hard, she was nursing in the parking lot, nursing a 3-month-old in between debates while she was running for city council. So her resilience and persistence is just incredible. We've always supported each other in politics. Again, we met campaigning. She supported me. I supported her. She supported me again. We've got an amazing relationship in that regard, and I'd say she's probably a better campaigner than I am, and certainly a very effective elected official when she was elected. She's always been a really important part of my support network. We've got a really strong family support network and a really strong setup, but it's hard. There's the logistical aspects of service. When you're going away, you've got to fly. When do you fly? What time do you fly? That pales in comparison, I think, to the human and emotional aspects,
Of
which
course.
are like when your kid's having a tough day and they just want to see daddy and you can't be there for 3 more days. It breaks your heart.
It's got to be painful. Gavin, one of the criticisms I did hear, and I'll put it really bluntly, is that you moved here because it's a safe seat. Is there any truth to it? Can you tell
Yeah.
me why you moved here?
Sure. We owned a property here since 2016. So originally, actually, my in-laws bought that place. It was going to be their retirement home. When they retired, my father-in-law had some health setbacks. Plans changed. We ultimately ended up deciding to move here largely, in fact, so that our kids could go to school here. We wanted to be in the same place for a prolonged period of time. I was in 4 schools in 5 years when I was my kids' age. We wanted to create more stability for them. We wanted a different environment for them. So ironically, by the time I moved here, I had actually really taken a big step back from politics. I had been very involved, and I had honestly kind of burned out on politics and become very disengaged from politics by the time we were moving here. And then things changed very quickly right before the election. I ended up getting pulled into politics and running again a lot sooner after moving here than I ever thought I would. So yeah, I was relatively new, but I had the fortune of knowing a lot of people in the community and of having a lot of experience in building community in new places. So I think I took 1 or 2 days of criticism over that, but I also worked very hard to make sure that I was reaching out, that I was engaging people, that I was building the relationships that I needed to build, so that I could be a very strong representative for the community, and I think I've been able to do that. I'm very proud of the work I've done to fight for the community and to make sure that this is the community I represent, not just a place that I am elected. And I think that's a very important difference when it comes to politics. You have to strike that balance between the issues that you're focused on and the community that you represent.
When do you anticipate making a decision about your leadership bid?
I would say over the next days and week. Things are playing out. We still haven't seen what the rules are. There's still a lot of conversations that are moving quickly, but I'll be moving to make that decision relatively soon. I've said this on other occasions, but at the end of the day, the most important gate decision gate is my kids. If my family's a no, then I'm a no. If my family's a yes, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in. There's lots of other variables, but it really, at the end of the day, comes down to making sure that I'm there as a father for my children.
Gavin, at the end of the day, are you glad you made the decision to run for politics here in the Okanagan, seeing the sacrifices you have to make? I remember community talking to you once, and you were up north, and we're going to be away for a while, and it was the weekend. So, are you glad you moved here, and are you glad you took this opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, Mohini, I love this community. I really do. It's a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to raise a family. I've got nothing but positive things to say in that regard. I like politics 80% of the time, maybe 90. But I think if you're in politics and you like it 100% of the time, you're probably a sociopath. So, I think it's really important to just take a step back sometimes and to realize that not every moment in politics is serious. Not every moment in politics has to be, politics should be a tug of war, not a civil war. You need to be able to find, you will have those dark moments, particularly when you're in tense times as a party or tense times in politics. You have to accept those, but you have to find the moments of levity. You have to find the camaraderie. You have to find the civility. I'm not perfect, but I try very hard to make sure that I have very civil relationships, including with MLAs who are across the aisle. I go out of my way to talk to people in the hallways, to build relationships, and to make sure that, there's an understanding that my job is to be an aggressive critic of the government. My job is to fight aggressively for my community, and my job is to fight aggressively for the issues that are in my focus. But we can still have civility. We can still have mature conversations. We can still be grown-ups who genuinely like and respect each other, even if we're trying to disagree constructively and move toward a better outcome.
Final question. In his quiet moments, in his quiet time, what does Gavin Dew like to do?
Oh man, okay. Well, everybody has a different way to recharge. My recharge is in the corner of a couch with one kid on either side of me watching a Disney movie.
Lovely. Thank you, Gavin, for being with us here today. Interesting talking to you.
Thank you for having me, Mohini.
And thank you all for watching. From all of us here at Giant Chat with Mohini, bye-bye.